Matthew Chang from the Chang Robotics Fund. And Chang, oh, sorry, it glitched out. Can you mark it, Andrea? I'm here with Matthew Chang from the Chang Robotics Fund. Matthew, welcome to the show, my friend.
Greg, great to see you.
Great to see you as well. Hey, so in your field, there are a lot of people that would say that you are absolutely destroying the production market. What do you say to them?
With robots, you mean, right?
With robots?
Yeah.
Of course, naturally.
Yeah.
That seems to be
Uh,
the thing that people
yeah,
are
I love that question. I get it a lot. What my answer is, we are making technology that is for workers.
Yeah.
So for the workforce that gets to experience a system by Cheng Robotics, a robotic system, all the enhanced data and potential for AI application, they love it. It transforms a typical job into a my job is cool type thing that they can brag to their kids about, that, hey, my robots at work today. You can't lead with that hook unless you have robots, right? So um, yeah, we're now tested in a bunch of industries, and that's really part of our culture. When we are designing robots, robotic systems, when we're transforming a workplace, we've now gone through factories, e-commerce facilities, supply chains. Most recently, we've added hospitals to the register and designed a robotic system just for nurses. We've done mass transit, which we got approved through the bus drivers union, and we've got some new frontiers coming next year. So for our methodology is not to replace or disenfranchise workers. Our methodology is to empower workers, give them the best tools. And it would be the same as, you run a podcast company and a media company. If somebody took away all your digital tools, you'd have to go back to the old way of doing it, right?
Absolutely.
And that's for our workforce. They get to experience a Cheng robotic system. Then after they've experienced it, they can't go back to the old way.
Yeah, so when people say like, oh, robots are destroying production and things like that, really the way that you're positioning it more is it's a way to be able to actually enable them to be more productive, it sounds like. Am I making wild assumptions here? Or is
No,
that
you've got it. You've got it. So, well, I'm not an AI doomer, right? I don't believe that robots or AI is going to take our jobs, but we do operate in a global economy. So the important thing for all U.S. producers and logistics companies to realize is we're in a global economy. We're not competing with the company down the street. You're competing with the company overseas. The company overseas definitely has cheaper labor than you have. They definitely have lower costs on certain things like energy, logistics, compliance, environmental. So the American company, because it's so sophisticated in terms of workforce requirements and environmental requirements, is already at kind of a cost disadvantage. What we're looking to do is we're taking that cost out of the American-made item so that American-made items are competitive both in our country and then globally.
Oh, wow. Okay. So instead of taking jobs away, you're actually adding jobs to the economy through making it more competitive
Yeah.
versus
Yeah, I saw
necessarily
it. I saw a stat that let's just do factories because manufacturing is trending.
Oh yeah.
Like 11% of the workforce is wrapped up in manufacturing. If we're going to reshore at the velocity that I think we're about to, then that 11% of workforce is not going to cut it, right? We don't have enough people. And at the same time, it's in the news almost every day that we're sending people home, right? Back to the country they came from. So when you're losing workforce and then you're increasing the production capacity of the nation, you have to automate. There's quite simply no other way to do it.
Yeah, you can't be competitive in a global economy if you can't compete, whether through wages, which we can't do effectively, right?
Yeah.
Or through maximizing the production process. And you and I both have experience overseas, right? With working with overseas factories, everything else. When I was with my solar company, when I founded my solar company, we were importing everything from Vietnam or China, right? We couldn't compete here in the States. People needed to get paid a certain wage. There weren't the margins at that time. It just couldn't do it. But if I had robots that could help maximize that or make it more competitive, then I would have been able to keep jobs here in the States.
That's right. And if you have a totally automated company where they've invested in traditional automation, uh, new age robotics, and then you're in a position where you can start to layer AI on as it gets ready, then
Mhm.
you have a company that's just going to constantly get faster at velocity for customer service. You're going to produce items faster. You're going to waste less in the process, which actually matters a lot. It's the
Oh yeah.
concept of yield, and you're going to deliver to your customer faster, right? So as you increase that velocity, then you just get more clients. We have a larger GDP, and the number of units produced per American worker goes up. And so that's a chart we should really be tracking is as we go through time on this automation journey, how productive is the American worker and how can we maximize their potential?
Yeah, and I think there's an underappreciated resilience to the workers here in the States, right? Where they're very resilient. There are a lot of people that want to work, but the company itself just can't necessarily afford to have a ton of people. Versus having a lot of automation or a lot of robotics, a lot of assistance to be able to maximize that. Um, they're more able to work in mass, right? Mass production,
Yeah.
um, more effectively with helping to reinforce the quality of the product too,
All right,
because they
Greg, I think you're hired. I don't know how long you're going to stay with the media company, but we might have to pull you in. It sounds like you got it.
perfect. Done. I did production for quite a while with two solar companies, and I see the value in this because if I would have had this, I mean, I probably would have sold it for a lot higher multiple first off.
Yeah. Right.
but, but the production would have been way more effective because I wouldn't have had that 3 to 6 month lead time
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
for a lot of the
And
production.
that's, there's been a series of events. I'll give you a couple big ones that have really set a new paradigm. And
Yeah.
that's what we've built our company on is this shifting paradigm in the US. But so, COVID was the first major supply chain shock we've had in a while, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then we were surprised at how fragile everything was. It's like you can't get baby medicine, you can't get toilet paper, and it just kept rolling down the line. The reason I'm focused on the baby stuff is we have young kids. So
Oh,
we're constantly inconvenienced when there was basic necessities we needed that just weren't available, right? Which was crazy to think that we were running our national supply chain with things like baby formula so lean that moms are having to set up like little cartels to go find baby food, right? So that's obviously unhealthy as a nation. That's not resilient. Um, and then we get exposed at how vulnerable we are. The next I'd say was really kind of the tariffs. And as it became obvious when we first started tracking, like what's really coming into the country and where is it coming from? Well, we didn't really know that until we had tariffs. And then all of a sudden you're getting a certain, tariff applied to something you're importing. Now you're thinking about maybe choosing a different country or producing it here locally. Right. So that started to create a consciousness. And the whole tech revolution really started in about 2017. And that was around the time that Google was launching this special project, which we now call Waymo, right? They had been in the lab, they'd been tinkering around, but they really hit the ground running and started driving on city streets. Um, and that's when you just saw this cost of high-end technology due to companies like Waymo and Tesla leaning all in on robotic cars and robo taxis, vision systems, AI, and it started to come down. And where we are now, and let's go ahead and call it 2026 because we're almost there.
Close enough.
Is it's just the perfect time. Technology is now proven. The cost is correct to get to make it affordable for companies to invest in. The benefits to the worker are now clearly documented. And it's little things like what's the number one cause of injury for a flight attendant? It's when you see that flight attendant moving that overhead bag above them, the number one cause of injury to flight attendants is a shoulder blowout. What's the number one cause of injury to a nurse? It's pushing heavy patient beds that can weigh up to 500 pounds when the patient's in there, and then they pull their back, right?
Oh,
And you just go across every job across the economy. We all have these nagging little physical things that we do that add up over time, and it leads to burnout, repetitive injury, those sort of things. So when we go to a heavy duty place like a factory where it's expected that you're going to quite literally do heavy lifting for a living, we need to automate that heavy work out of it. And we need to leave the kind of the quality assurance, the customer service, the that kind of sense of how things are being produced. We need to leave that to the humans, and we need to just let the robots do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, why does somebody need to try to lift these 250-pound or 100-pound,
Yeah.
50-pound things if it can be automated and be able to reduce? I imagine so, or I imagine it reduces. There we go. I can speak. I promise. Uh, Workers' compensation claims.
Yes.
It probably reduces the cost or the burden on the
Yes.
production facility a ton.
And
Just
and then I'll
because,
give you so you're correct on those points. Workers' comp goes way down. That's a
yeah.
huge expense for some businesses.
Okay.
The insurance, required for the work, that goes way down. But a hidden benefit that might not be obvious is worker retention, right? So when your workers know that you're investing in them as the business, you're giving them the latest and greatest toys. It's the same as giving every new employee a new iPhone and saying, "Hey, I need to be able to call you," right?
Yeah.
You give them the latest and greatest toys, which in our case, it centers around robotics. Then what happens is the workforce feels invested in. They upskill. They get trained on programming robots, maintaining robots, programming robots. Those are all things that any blue collar worker can be trained on by our team. And then now it's a permanent relationship. The employee feels valued. They got upskilled. Through that process, they get a pay raise. And then the company is so happy because their production is going through the roof, right? The cost is going down because they're producing more.
Yeah, it has very real benefits that I don't think a lot of people really think about. There's been so much fear around robotics and around AI and around all these things that the benefits really haven't been focused on nearly as much, at least, right? Versus necessarily the doomsdaying, the AI, the robotics doomsdaying. We need to start focusing on some of the benefits and how it will actually affect the economy, which is largely why you're here too, right? We
Yeah.
want to make sure that people are aware that there is this massive potential that just needs further adoption, really, to make sure that we're running the most effectively that we can, versus necessarily replacing all of the workers
Yeah.
or replacing everybody.
I think AI really couples well with robotics for a couple of reasons. Number one is we do want the robots to do things by themselves. We gave examples of the driverless cars earlier. The number one technology we deploy is autonomous robots. And then we teach a whole bunch of them how to work together as a team, right? That's the layer that we add on top, is the teamwork element. How do we make all these autonomous units start to behave as one team? But
Wow.
where AI works is, if you go back a few years, there was this slogan that was being thrown at the blue collar workers, which is learn to code.
Oh, I heard that.
Yeah, you heard that one? Somebody
I didn't
famous.
know what it meant, but I heard it.
Somebody famous. So learn to code. Well, for the workers that may have, I seriously doubt many people did that, right? But for the people that did, now it's really hard to get a job in programming, in computer programming. So that would have been a pretty poor career investment because nobody foresaw this AI wave where you could just talk to AI and have it do stuff. But the idea was not wrong, is telling the blue collar worker learn how to code. The method they chose was wrong.
Yeah.
The correct way to do it now is give a worker a fleet of robots or a single robotic cell, a production line, whatever it may be, and then have that worker who has the expert knowledge base be able to talk to the robotics to tell it what it wants the robots to do. And then the code writes itself because we have AI now, right? That's probably the correct interaction. And that is the blue collar worker literally programming robots, but having the benefit of having an AI agent in the middle that's, actually writing the script.
Which is so incredible. I mean, back then it probably would have been better to say, hey, so look into adaptive technologies, artificial intelligence, and those things instead of the programming.
Right.
It didn't need to, right? It was getting developed. It was in the process and everything else. So the fact alone that you can tell an AI what to do and it can actually execute is night and day compared to when we are making huge assumptions here. When we were growing up, right, where it was we were manually doing everything. I've been in production, right? It is not a fun job sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard work. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
just to benchmark it, just so we can level set on age base, I grew up with a VHS tape player and begging my mom on Friday night to take me to Blockbuster. So that's my era.
We're about the same age then.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That assumption was okay then.
We call it pre-Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah, Walkman and things along those lines. Yeah. Perfect. Well, so tell me about what you guys are working on right now. Like, are there new initiatives that you're working on? Are you
Yeah.
pushing this?
Yes, I am. I'm smiling today because we just got off the Thanksgiving holiday, but my whole team is feeling run ragged because we're just running as hard as we can right now. So 2026 is going to be a fantastic year for Cheng Robotics. I think it's going to be a great year for the overall manufacturing economy. Specifically, what we're looking for is we're looking for CapEx, for investment dollars to go into manufacturing. So if you want to make more in the US, you got to build the factory, buy the land, do the construction project, install the machinery, hire the workforce, get them trained, establish supply chain routes, whether it's by train or truck. So a lot of work has to go into it before you can produce. And I think this coming year is going to be the first big year where we've seen the effect of these policies and the weakness in supply chain actually turn into big investment, right?
Absolutely.
So that's kind of that's the bet that we've made, is that 2026 is when the Renaissance begins. The buzzword today on the internet is reindustrialization. So let's reindustrialize. What we're doing is we're in a position of readiness. So we have engineered multiple groundbreaking factories in 2025.
Oh,
2026 is the year that they need to get built. Everything we build requires the engineering first. You have to design it before you can buy everything and put it together. So I think you're going to see a lot of really cool headlines from our customers who are out there just with ambitious plans and production plans, workforce plans. So I'd say that's the number one is look for really cool factories that we hope to just be an excellent team member on for our customers, delivering the robotic portion of the factory. The second thing is we're just leaning really heavy into IP. In the past 4 weeks, I've done 10 separate patent reviews for patents that we have on our desk and are getting set to be filed. So I like to set year-end targets. That's just something about my personality. So my team is like, we got to get all these sent, by the end of the year. So we're really excited for that because intellectual property is a big part of the American innovation economy, right? If you invent something, you should have the right to patent it. And I guess by telling you that, that means over the past 12 months, we invented 10 new things to help American manufacturers. So we're getting all that over to the patent office here in the next week or two. We've received a bunch of different IP protections this year. We probably get an awarded patent once a month in the mailbox now. And so it's just kind of this flywheel, right? That we started investing in. One of the coolest parts about it is employee engagement at my company. So if you are an engineer or a creative, an inventor at my company, then now that we've set this wheel in motion, you're looking for your patent, right? And I always let our key team members put their names on the patent, as they should, the inventor. So hey, do you want your name on there? Come up with a great idea. Let's get it designed and let's file that patent.
Well, I've got a couple of cool ideas. Let's go ahead and talk about.
We'll take that offline. We gotta do the NDA. Yeah, but yeah. So IP is going to be absolutely huge for us. And then I'd say the other thing too is we are just stretched on talent right now in terms of keeping our workforce busy and engaged and giving them the greatest projects for the greatest customers to work on. We are like most companies that are technical talent led, we have this much capacity left. So that leaves me with a dilemma. I want to do all the factories, right? Which factories do I want to automate? Just so we're clear, all of them. So how do we do that if our team is already getting to that point where we're very close to canceling vacations right now, right? At our current workload. So we're going to be expanding through acquisition next year. We've got several acquisitions planned. these are world-class technical companies that I've worked with throughout the years, and the relationships go back. This is not some like hostile acquisition where, attorneys are fighting. This is handshakes and bro hugs type acquisition. Is we want to go ahead and in-house the caliber of talent that we'd like to hire, but I would never hire for my friend's company, right? So I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah, you wouldn't scalp them.
Yeah.
You'll acquire them and get the solid
right. Yeah. And so that's exciting for everybody, because as we grow both through, our organic initiatives, through our IP initiatives, and then through acquisition, for the young people in these companies that we're acquiring, it's just super exciting.
Yeah. I mean, I've been on
here's all the robots you have access to now. Here's all the high-end tech that you can now distribute to your clients, right? And put in your designs. And then also, you're part of this patent program. You can do that too. You're part of the innovation narrative that's happening at Chang Robotics, and we're just kind of on fire right now with innovation. So we want to keep that rolling.
And yeah, and I've been on the acquiring side, right? With my background, a little bit about it.
Yeah, high-powered business guy.
The acquisitions, right? When you're acquiring a business and suddenly they have all these tools and resources that they didn't have before. It was a friendly acquisition. It was something that was in the best interest of both companies. The retention rate is so much higher, right? Especially if you do it properly and there's the education and everything else. It sounds like you guys are really doing that the right way.
Yeah.
And really making sure that you get the solid talent that can stick with you.
Well, that's the goal. And I'm glad you talked about retention, because when you're buying a people-based business, or when you're buying a knowledge-based business, if you don't have retention, you didn't actually buy anything, right? Yeah. You can be left with nothing.
I made that mistake.
Hopefully we don't have a podcast next year where I say the same thing. Hopefully I learned from what you could teach me, Greg. But so over the past few weeks, I've personally written about 30 pages of business plan, and things to satisfy, all the parties that wanted to get read into their piece. And I don't do that often. It happens about once a year for me that I actually sit down and write that much. But
it's a lot of work.
When I got to the end of it, I had to summarize it, right? Like, what's the point? Sure, we have legal and finance and risk, and we have financial projections and all these sort of things. But at the end of the day, what's the point? And it came to me. The idea is two things. Number one, 0 employees lost, right? That we retain every single employee, period, that they find this to be exciting, engaging, and good for their own career. So the same thing we do in factories, we're doing that in our own shop. And then the second point was 0 customers lost, right? That if we communicate this to all of our customers in the right way, they're going to see this as a net add. They'll say, oh, this company I've worked with forever that I've just loved, suddenly they have new resources, capabilities. They can do all these really fun things for me now, and that they're excited by it. So if we can just promote that engagement, both on the client side and the employee side, I think it's going to be a winning formula.
Absolutely. Well, the retention value, but then also the value of the company itself, right? Suddenly you've got the talent, the revenues will increase. I'm making this assumption. I realize you won't say it yourself.
We're buying established businesses. We're not buying zero revenue startups.
Yeah. Well, that's VC, right? It's like, whoa.
Well, we have a VC, but that's what we do there. Yeah, for our engineering company, yes, it is a minimum requirement that you must be in business and have customers and have revenues.
You're not investing in just ideas.
That's right.
I'm really curious, and I know some of the viewers will also wonder this too. How, I guess, who are you accepting investments from? Because this is a really enticing investment.
Yeah, that's something we're kind of working out right now. So what we did currently, if you look at the ownership of Chang Robotics, it's 100% employee owned. So only people that work at the company, that spend their every waking moment trying to make it better, have stock. We've now created an expansion to that, because we have amazing advisors. Like the advisors and the people that help us, the people that I call when I get stuck, are just incredible people. And so we've just made an expansion that will implement soon-ish to our cap table. That's our ownership structure, where we're going to let our advisors now participate in the ownership of the company, because they have really helped me, beyond measure. So that's our first kind of external expansion, if you will, even though they're friends.
Yeah.
And so we may do something, in the near future where we let, the right strategic investors help us out. But right now, our company's been with customers, with revenue, and with profit every year of business. We haven't never taken outside investment because we haven't needed it. But to your point, there's probably some things ahead where we'll need some financial partners.
Well, I'd like to accept the job that you offered me earlier. It sounds amazing what you guys are doing and how you're doing it. Is there anything, I guess, what kind of barriers are you running into right now with adoption? Is there anything that you're really running into?
It's not an adoption issue. It's a cutting through the noise issue. So we're still in early days of robotics for the young audience out there that might be trying to choose a career field. Robotics is like a 5% established company. It's like Tesla in 2016. It's just getting started.
Really?
And so the amount of robotics in the world around us is actually very small for what it will be in the next 10 years and 20 years. So the issue that we see is that's counter to what you see on the news. So if you go on YouTube or LinkedIn or Twitter or any platform, you're going to see robots everywhere, and it tricks your mind. Yeah, so for your everyday person or your aspiring student picking a career field, they think, oh, robotics are everywhere. They are in fact not anywhere, right? So here's a quick example. Humanoids seem very present. Right, we see videos and viral videos of humanoids made in the USA and made in China and doing all kind of things. Some are fighting kung fu, and some are doing, mail sorting operations in a warehouse. Right? Has anybody in the audience seen a humanoid doing anything productive ever? Will you open your comments up on the podcast? I'd be willing to bet 0 people have seen one actually doing work. Why? Because they are not in the wild and they're not actually doing work. That's why. It's all marketing, what you see. So what, in terms of the proliferation of the business, I think the problem is that CEOs and decision makers at companies that know they have to automate, we know we have to get into robotics, we know we have to get ready for AI. They just don't know where to start because it's so confusing. There's so much noise. And it's like, well, should I wait till next year until Elon can deliver Optimus and just replace the whole workforce? Well, that's not going to work. Like, I could give you 100 reasons, I won't do it today, why that's not going to work. So really what they need to do is they need to start, it's a multi-stage journey. It's going to take years to implement this change in any organization. The key is just start now. And you pick a partner that can get you to best in class today, and then also has pretty good predictions on where things are going in a 5-year interval, 10-year interval. So you got a little future proofing to it, and just get started. And I think that's the biggest barrier to adoption right now is people are frozen with options. Can ChatGPT make my airplanes? No, it can't. Right? Can the humanoid do my job? Probably not. Right? So that's where I think we need to get to, is that people have that kind of clear roadmap, and hey, what's step 1, step 2, step 3? And then in the future, when there is this big mass adoption event, whether it be humanoid robotics or drones or AI or anything else, you're in a position of readiness to take that adoption.
Yeah, then at least you're prepared. You know how to take action, right? Because, I mean, even when I was running my production, right, there were robots, but I had no clue how to fully leverage them. Whereas your biggest barrier,
and it's little things like, I'll give you an example of things that no company knows. Take the most famous company you want to know. I'll pick on Apple because they're such a great company. But
they're huge.
So if you called Tim Cook today and you said, "Hey, Tim Cook, I got a question for you. How many iPhone 17s do you have in inventory?" He can't tell you. And no one at Apple, no employee at Apple could tell you that. They have no clue. They got to make phone calls and send emails, and they got to call Target and Verizon, and they got to call Foxconn over in China. They have no clue, right? And there's no way to accurately answer that question. But if you called Amazon and you said, hey, how many female size 9 New Balance do you have?
Oh,
They could get pretty darn close, right?
yeah.
Within a box or two, whatever just went out the door, they could tell you the answer. So that if that kind of gap in intelligence of manufacturing and inventory helps illustrate, every company has a long way to go before they're ready for full automation and then AI.
Yeah, it makes me feel a lot better knowing that some of these big companies still have no clue what they're doing. Whereas, like Amazon, who adopted AI early and developed their own, right? They could tell you virtually exactly how many boxes or how many products were in this shipment, right?
Well, they could mostly tell you, right?
Mostly.
I think it's funny. My wife ordered from Amazon a few days ago. She ordered something for the kids, and she got these like porcelain salt shakers.
Oh yeah.
And then she's looking at me. She's like, "Why did we need new salt shakers? They were not our style. They were my grandma's style of salt shaker." And she's like, "Why did we need new salt shakers?" I'm like, "I did not order that, right?" And so they even with their greatness, I'd say they're the gold standard, right, of understanding data and inventory and what customers want. They still make mistakes and send you salt shakers every once in a while. So
yep. Thanks for the free salt shakers, Amazon. Right? It's
that's where you click the return and they tell you not to return it. Just hold on.
What is that, like 95% of the time? It's like, no, we don't want that.
Yeah, we actually have to pay to get it back. Just hold on to it.
Yeah. So okay, so you guys work with the robotics. What other avenues do you provide? Is it
because once we got on this IP kick, that's what allowed us to start spinning out products, right? So it wasn't a total people-based business. So big products you can expect to see us have some good sales in for the coming year. Airport electrification with monster electric vehicles. So our team, I'm so proud of this. Our team built the most powerful electric vehicle in the world, and it's supposed to live at airports. It's designed to the FAA's specification, and it blows the snow off the runways, right? So the day job is when the airports get covered up in a blizzard, they have to get all the snow off. The snow blower is our electric vehicle. However, it doesn't snow that much, even in cold places. And so when the snowblower goes to live in the equipment shed, you just plug it in with the supercharger, and it provides a back power to the whole airport. And so the airport now has backup power just from the snow blowing equipment that's sitting in the shed. So
okay, I want to see this now. Like this is
really
cool.
We're going to be launching our first little plushie next year, and so I'll make sure we send one to your office. Yeah,
perfect. I get one, maybe two.
However many kids you have, plus one for you, so that way they don't steal yours. Yeah,
done.
So we'll ship those. So yeah, they're gigantic. They don't fit in a building. They're ridiculously huge. We take it to trade shows, and we have to call and measure doorways before we bring it in because you have to have a huge roll-up door. So it's just gigantic electric vehicle. We're super proud of it. Made in USA, right? So that's a feature. We're selling to the federal government, which requires it to be made in USA. And then it was quite the challenge to find all the parts and pieces in the USA, but we did. So I'm proud of the team, and I'm proud of our suppliers that have been such amazing suppliers for us. The second thing that you can expect to see a lot more of is we're in the process of licensing out our hospital robotic system. And we've had a whole bunch of hospital supply chain companies contact us saying, like, it would be really cool if we had robotics to sell to our hospital. Seems like you designed and built all this stuff. Can we sell it for you? So we're excited to see what that looks like. In the industry, that's called channel, right? When it goes to an intermediate, reseller or distributor before hitting the end client. Yeah. So we're going to be going channel with our Curobotics platform is the name of that robotic system, which is designed for nurses to support hospitals. And then the one that I think has the biggest potential to be global and in like every house in the world is our Go Eco product. So Go Eco, Go stands for graphene oxide. This is a organic compound that replaces PFAS in food packaging. So when you look at your food and you measure the microplastic content, why there's so much microplastic in the food, most of it comes from the packaging. Packaging is not bad, right? It keeps food fresh. It keeps it safe. It makes it look pretty on the shelf. Keeps what I like to joke about with the coffee cups. It keeps the coffee in the cup, right? And not in your lap. So packaging on balance is not bad. We like to have shelf lives and all those sort of things. But the byproduct is almost all packaging is plastic now. And it gets in your body, right? We know that.
The forever plastics.
Yeah, so Go Eco is organic. It comes from carbon. You can derive it from plant waste, or you can derive it from graphite. And the whole point there is, let's make food packaging safe. Let's get the microplastics out of the food. And then let's make sure that our paper packaging is actually recyclable, right? So if you went to any fast food restaurant or Starbucks and you went in the back, you took all their paper cups, took the whole box of paper cups, haven't been used. Those are non-recyclable because they're laminated with plastic.
Oh, wow.
They're not compostable. They're not recyclable, which is crazy to think of how much paper volume is actually not recyclable. So what with Go Eco applied to the same paper cup, again, the coffee stays in the cup. Yay. That's our performance criteria.
I'll take
it. All that food product, the wasted packaging is actually recyclable, or it's compostable if that's what you want to do with it. And so it goes back into the environment and the soil and everything. So that's, I think, got the potential to go to every country. And our view with the Go Eco product is every country in the world deserves safe food packaging.
Wow. I love this. I'm excited for that. You've got to let me know when it comes out so that we can push this out.
Yeah.
I think the more people that know about it, the better. Because this is huge, and it's
we may have some news for you soon. So we're hard at work, and it's driving huge interest across the paper industry specifically.
Yeah,
because for the audience, the EPA is doing a good job. The EPA has now banned roughly 50% of PFAS chemicals. What I didn't know until we started this was there's over 700. We always hear PFAS, you think it's one thing. There's like 700 PFAS chemicals. And so the EPA is kind of going through and reviewing them one by one, and they've already gotten to where 50% of them are banned or severely restricted.
Wow. Really?
So for the paper companies that have to make those cups, they're in a pickle, right? It's coming soon. And I'm using the cups because it's such an easy example, right? Probably not a week goes by that everyone in the audience doesn't have a paper cup from somewhere.
Yeah, and one form or another, Starbucks or whatever, right?
Yeah, Starbucks, McDonald's. I mean, at the airport lounge when you're passing through. And so, just taking little steps like that to me are common sense. It's common sense for the environment, right? That let's make it recyclable. It's common sense for your body. Let's get the plastic out. And then it's good for the retail brand because they get to tell people, hey, we're doing the right thing here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and, the right thing, but then also that, the cause, right? If in how they are positioning themselves as a responsible business. I mean, that's huge. Matthew, thank you so much for coming on the show today, my friend. It's been so nice being able to get to know you a little bit more, and also Chang Robotics. Thank you so much for coming on. To our audience, what's the best way to find more information about you?
Yeah, we've got two websites that are the kind of central hub. We have changrobotics.ai. That's our engineering website. If you need to buy a bunch of robots, that's where you go to buy all the robots. Or just learn, because we write white papers. The second would be cr.fund. And that's what we have in my moniker right here, the Chang Robotics Fund. That's our venture capital company. We didn't really touch on that today, but for people that want to make these early venture bets on what we invest in, you get to invest alongside of us in the Chang Robotics Fund. So that's cr.fund. We've got the inventory up now. So I think you jumped on with us, Greg, right when we got started, and we were like, hey, here's what we want to do. milestone. As of today, we have 9 companies invested in, and our target is 15. Yay! So we're more than half the way through the fund. And so there's still a little time for some investors that didn't get on early to jump in, so they can see that at cr.fund.
That's fantastic. I'm going to have you on again. I'm going to request to actually do the interview with you to go over Chain Robotics Fund, because I want to learn more about that. And I know that's going to resonate with the audience.
Well, then that means I got to get one more investment before we do it, so it's an even 10.
Perfect. Done.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks again. For everybody, thank you so much for attending, for learning more about Matthew Chang and the Chain Robotics Fund. Have a great day, and God bless.